Hi, everyone. This is Frank Nunez with Teaching University. And in this lecture today, we're going to be discussing the concept of infinite possibilities. And what does this term really mean? And that's something we're going to explore throughout this lecture. But before I begin this lecture, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button so you can watch all my lectures on personal growth, wealth building, and entrepreneurship. And I appreciate for all of you who have been viewing my lectures and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Without you, this channel would not be possible. So I certainly appreciate all your support. So I want to start with a quote from Carl Jung, who says that loneliness does not come from having no people, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. When it comes to infinite possibilities, what does this term really mean? Well, for starters, when I look at infinite possibilities, what it means is that we can look at our current circumstances and our current reality, and we can view it from different perceptions. We can begin asking questions as to whether or not our beliefs, whether or not the challenges that we're experiencing are really necessarily insurmountable, or that is our challenges really challenges, or our self-limiting beliefs really accurate. And chances are they aren't. But more specifically, when it comes to changing our perceptions and overcoming any sort of difficulties you may be having and moving in a more empowering and brighter future, we first have to explore the concept of energy, whereby we don't use up energy, we are energy. And in my opinion, what I believe, one of the reasons, of course, there's other reasons, but one of the main reasons why so many individuals struggle with depression and anxiety is because, as Carl Jung says here, that people have a hard time being able to communicate how they really feel. Or to put it another way, to be their authentic selves, to listen to their intuition, their higher self, this infinite intelligence that's within us and around us, these unseen forces, as William Walker Atkinson has discussed in his work. And when we suppress what we're feeling, when we deny ourselves the opportunity to pursue our own interests, when we don't listen to that intuition that is telling us to pursue a specific desire and to be who we really are, then what ends up happening is that we bottle up these emotions where we feel frustrated, angry, fearful, lethargic, lacking any sort of energy and love and zeal for life. So when it comes to infinite possibilities, then, in order for us to explore new possibilities and experience in our lives, we have to release this bottled up energy, and that requires us letting go and accepting whatever it is that we're feeling. There's no such thing as positive or negative emotions. Rather, it's simply feedback that our intuition and our higher self is giving us in terms of how we should move forward and how we should act and really what we should do on a moment by moment basis. And we should start listening to this intuition. And more importantly, not be afraid of what others will think of us if we express certain views, as Jung says, that many people find inadmissible. That means not conforming to what our external reality wants us to conform to. And that we should not allow our circumstances to dictate how we should feel and how we should live our lives. And that we should begin to cultivating and holding on to this new vision of a better future. So Shakti Gawain says in her book, Creative Visualization, that in creative visualization, you use your imagination to create a clear image, idea, or feeling of something you wish to manifest. It's holding this picture in your mind of what it is that you want. It could be some sort of visual, an image, an idea, or even an affirmation, something that represents your dreams and desires. And then by holding on to visualizing that feeling, we begin to ask ourselves what it would feel like if what we want is already here now in the present moment. And when we use our imagination, we want to be childlike, meaning that we're not afraid to explore new possibilities as far as the potentiality of what our life could bring to us in our careers, in our finances, our personal lives, our health, the things that we would like to do. to have, and so forth. So when we hear the word manifest, what that really means is that we begin to cultivate this mental environment or cultivate this vision of what we would like to achieve. And that through our thoughts and actions, we manifest this in our lives by using forces both seen and unseen to bring this desire forth into our reality. And this requires that not trying to force an outcome, but rather to be in a relaxed state and walk in faith and realize that what we want is already here and that we have everything that we need to be in the ideal state now and to live our best life now. And most importantly, to be in the present moment, in this state of flow where life seems to become effortless. And I discussed this in one of my previous lectures on effortless existence, where it's not that we're not taking action, but the action we take comes from a place of inspiration, and more importantly, comes from our instincts and intuition. So Joe Dispenza, and this is from his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, says to be happy with yourself in the present moment while maintaining a dream of your future is a grand recipe for manifestation. When you feel so whole that you no longer care whether it will happen, that's when amazing things materialize before your eyes. I've learned that being whole is the perfect state of creation. I've seen this time and time again in witnessing true healings in people all over the world. They feel so complete that they no longer want, no longer feel lack, and no longer try to do it themselves. They let go, and to their amazement, something greater than they are responds, and they laugh at the simplicity of the process. What really stands out to me is when Dispenza says they feel so complete that they no longer want, no longer feel lack, and no longer try to do it themselves. What does this mean? It means that a person or individual can only do so much. That ultimately, the process of creation requires us then to surrender to a greater mind, the subconscious mind, infinite intelligence, these unseen forces that when you surrender to them and create a blueprint and a vision of what it is that you want and impress upon this higher self what it is that you want, things begin to become automatic where you move effortlessly. Your body begins to move. You start to think and behave in ways that are in line with your vision. And this is why affirmations, meditation, journaling, and really taking the time to visualize and be in the present moment and disconnect from all the busyness and distractions of the outside world. And by living in the present moment, we're in this state of flow where challenge meets skill, where we're so immersed in life and what it is that we're doing, we're not trying to force things anymore. Because at the end, the reason why we want to achieve a particular goal, whatever that may be, is because of the state it puts us in. So why wait to achieve that goal to feel a certain way when you can feel that way right now? And that is really at the heart of creation, whereby we're in the present moment. Things begin to happen, not just from a physiological point of view with these chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and these other feel-good chemicals that put us in this state where our mind is firing on all cylinders. The mind and body are in congruence and are just in total flow and working in proper order. When we're in this state, things just start to happen. Synchronicities, chance occurrences, excelled performance, improved performance, whether it's in your business or in the athletic field. A lot of athletes report that when they're in this state of flow, they almost feel godlike, where they feel like anything is possible, that they feel like they can excel and do anything. And that's when they feel like they're performing at their best. When they're not trying to force, but rather live in the present moment now. And in this very moment, that's all there is. And that is at the heart of creation. And that's when magic really happens. And that's when new possibilities begin to unfold we never even recognized before. It's when we're in this present moment and in this state of flow. So Dispenza says that first, every day, I would put all of my conscious attention on this intelligence within me and give it a plan, a template, a vision with very specific orders. And then I would surrender my healing to this greater mind that has unlimited power, allowing it to do the healing for me. And second, I wouldn't let any thoughts slip by my awareness that I didn't want to experience. So I said before, we surrender ourselves to this higher intelligence, this higher self that we have within us. You can call it infinite intelligence, the subconscious, whatever you like. And what we do is we create a vision, or as Dispenza says, a blueprint of what it is that we would like to have, or the kind of life that we would like to live. And we use feeling by feeling the wish fulfilled, as Neville says, feeling as if this vision, this blueprint has already come to be. And we impress upon this unlimited power, this blueprint. And then we go about our lives, not trying to force an outcome, but by surrendering to this greater mind. And that is really the essence of faith. It is believing in the unseen. That through your actions, though powerful, there's only so much a person can do. And that ultimately, by surrendering to this power and using it and becoming one with it, we create new experiences. And life seems to transform and reveal itself in front of our very eyes. And the challenges that we were once experiencing just seem to fade away because we outgrow these problems. And we don't solve them not by working within the problem, but by outgrowing them and becoming something more. And when it comes to prayer, it's sort of reimagining what prayer is. Prayer isn't praying to this intelligence or to God, hoping something happens, but praying as if what we want has already come true. Believing in the wish fulfilled. And even necessarily if that desire doesn't come forth, something better can emerge. And that's why it's so important then to heal ourselves. It's not to fight off negative emotions, not to fight off our circumstances, but to accept them for what they are. We have to come to terms with what it is that we're feeling and then move forward and pivot and create this blueprint for a better life and focus on that. And you can be as broad or as specific as you would like to be. But as long as we hold some sort of vision, we can move towards that vision and bring it forth into our reality. So Robert Fulghum says that I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, that hope always triumphs over experience, that laughter is the only cure for grief. And I believe that love is stronger than death. This got my attention, especially at the beginning of the quote where he says that I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge. Einstein says something similar to this. He credits more intuition rather than intellect or knowledge in him coming up with the theory of relativity. So it is trusting our instincts and using our imagination to dream up and think about and imagine new horizons, new ideas, new possibilities, and experiences. And how to bring this imagination to life. It means that we, as I said before, not to try to consciously force this idea, but to embody it and become it and to surrender to it. Surrender this to a greater mind. And to not be afraid of thinking of new ideas. So what happens when we use our imagination of thinking of specific goals and things that we would like to do and have? Instinctively sometimes, or not instinctively, but subconsciously through our self-limiting beliefs, we may feel that what we want is impossible. We may feel uninspired throughout this process of imagining what we want, and that's perfectly okay. Accept that you feel this way, but continue with this process. And over time, you will begin to feel more inspired, more euphoric, and more alive, because no longer are we trying to force outcomes, but rather we're listening to our intuition. And when we ask this higher self the right questions, over time we'll have the right answers on what to do next and how we move forward and proceed with our lives. And you can't, as I said many times, intellectualize this process. It's something that you have to feel. And through a process of trial and error, through our new behaviors and actions, then we can move into a much higher plane of existence, where no longer are we chained to the experiences of the past, but rather we are embodying the desired future that we've always wanted now in the present moment. And that starts with imagination. So in Scott Barry Kaufman, his book Transcend the New Science of Self-Actualization, he also wrote the book Wired to Create, which is another great book. He says that Maslow, he's referring to Abraham Maslow, believed that if people are inwardly free, they will more often than not choose wisely in a healthy and growth-oriented direction. To Maslow, this is how the psychology of being and the psychology of becoming can be reconciled. Just by being yourself and shedding your defenses and fears and anxieties, you move forward and grow. The only way that we can really move forward And I've often felt this, that if we feel stuck in our lives and feel like nothing is happening, it requires then that we have to be honest with ourselves, that perhaps the reason why we're stuck is that we're not being our authentic self. And Abraham Maslow, in his hierarchy of needs, if you look at the pinnacle, the top of the pyramid of that hierarchy, the pinnacle of human experience is authentic creative expression. So if we are to shed these fears, these anxieties that we experience, this bottled up energy that we've suppressed, we have to accept whatever it is that we're experiencing, surrender to this greater mind, and be unafraid to express who we really are. And when we do that, you feel lighter, you feel more euphoric, you feel happier. Things start to happen when you no longer are allowing your self-limiting beliefs to hold you back. So Scott Barry Kaufman says that, in other words, the best route to happiness and life satisfaction is through transcending your egoistic insecurities and becoming the best version of yourself and making a positive contribution to the world around you. We all have insecurities or this negative self-image. And Maxwell Maltz's work in psychocybernetics, he discusses the self-image. We become overly self-conscious, where we aren't afraid to express ourselves because of what we think other people, or because of the opinions of others, or what other people will think of us. And this is a form of people pleasing that could really hold us back. So then, to overcome these insecurities and to release this energy, this life force, it means that we must be our authentic selves and be unafraid to express not only who we are, but what we want. What are our needs? What is it that we need? And what need to be satisfied? Again, referring to the hierarchy of needs, we have physical, psychological, and physical needs that we need satisfying: food, shelter, relationships, meaning and purpose in our career, financial stability, health, relationships, and of course, authentic creative expression, which is very important. We need to satisfy these needs if we're serious then about living a great life and experiencing more possibilities and new experiences. So it's Gandhi that said that man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If I keep on saying to myself that I cannot do a certain thing, it is possible that I may end up by really becoming incapable of doing it. On the contrary, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. So it boils down to belief. If you believe you cannot do something, then that's exactly what will be brought forth into your existence, into your reality. And beliefs are shaped by the consistent thoughts and suggestions and assumptions that we say to ourselves on a consistent basis, and the assumptions that we connect ourselves with or relate to that's outside of us. We are bombarded and inundated with so much negative content coming from social media, the 24-hour news cycle, that by viewing this without even realizing it, these suggestions that are inundated to us can actually influence how we think. And it can actually shape our beliefs, not for the better, but for the worse, and can impress upon us self-limiting beliefs that can hurt us in a negative way. So then it requires that to reshape our beliefs is entertaining new assumptions about what is possible. And through meditation, using affirmations such as money comes effortlessly into my life, I have the ability to overcome whatever I'm experiencing. I am whole and complete. These are just a few example suggestions and affirmations we could use. When we repeat these affirmations to ourselves in a relaxed state without trying to force it, over time, this can reshape our beliefs. But we must be intentional and become aware as to when we experience negative emotions. And we shouldn't fight off these emotions, but rather we should listen to them and learn from them, so that by the time we can pivot and change into a more empowering state, these negative emotions no longer enslave us or hold any power over us. So then we always attract into our lives whatever we think about most, believe most strongly, expect on the deepest level, and imagine most vividly. So it boils down to belief. If you're struggling in a particular aspect of your life, whether it's relationships or finances, chances are it's because of the beliefs that you hold that subconsciously are holding you back. And you have to address these, meaning we have to face it head on, not by suppressing it, but by bringing it to the surface, casting a light on it and getting it out of the shadows. And by doing that, then we're no longer intimidated or fearful of these negative emotions. We can learn from them and then begin to entertain new, more empowering beliefs that can reshape our reality at a very deep level. And that's where feeling as a wish fulfilled, feeling as if what we want is possible. We want to use our feelings as leverage then to overcome whatever negative transgressions we may be experiencing. So, once again, to quote Shakti Gawain, she says that instead of figuring out what I wanted, setting goals, and trying to control what happened to me, I began to practice tuning receptively to my intuition and acting on what it told me without always understanding why I was doing what I was doing. It was a feeling of letting go of control, surrendering, and allowing the higher power to be in charge. This is difficult to do because sometimes when we follow our intuition, we may discover and realize that our job, our relationships, and even our life, everything that we relate to in our life may fall apart as we begin to follow our intuition and move towards what we want to do in the life that we want to live. When we let go and surrender to this higher power, we could see some many life-altering events occur in our lives. Relationships may fall apart. A business or work that you've always had may leave you, or you may leave it. You may see some drastic changes because your current reality no longer coincides with your new vision. So sometimes it's necessary that we shed the skin of the old self and become something new. And surrendering is not easy because we're so used to trying to control every aspect of our lives. And the fact is, we just don't have that ability to control every aspect of our life. But we can control our perception of what happens to us. And by surrendering and letting go, this universal energy is released from us. Thereby, then we can use this energy to transform our life for the better. And where it becomes effortless because this higher power has become an ally to help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So, what this means for our practical purposes is that if you learn to relax deeply and do creative visualization, you may be able to make far more effective changes in your life than you would by thinking, worrying, planning, and trying to manipulate things and people. As I said before, manipulating or forcing outcomes. When you try to force something consciously or you try to stay busy for the sake of it, it never works. Even if you get what you want, you end up being burnt out and start to wonder or question as to whether or not this was worth the effort. So you're better off visualizing and imagining what it is that you want than trying to manipulate and force and worry about what will happen. It's a far more effective way to improve your life than by trying to manipulate and force outcomes. Visualizing, taking the time to visualize and meditate on the kind of life that you want to live and the person that you want to be in the ideal state that you want to have. See, the idea is like a blueprint. It creates an image of the form, which then magnetizes and guides the physical energy to flow into that form and eventually manifests it on the physical plane. So as Dispenza says in the lecture earlier in this video, it's about creating a blueprint. You can visualize this in your mind. You can write it down, journal it, or create a vision board. That's something that a lot of people have done. And create this blueprint that symbolizes the kind of life that you want to have. And by focusing on this blueprint and impressing upon it to this higher power, what it is that you like, and just going about your day and living your life, not worrying about how it's going to happen, because deep down on a imaginative level and through your feelings, you know that what you want is already here now, that it is possible. It's no longer foreign or distant to you. There's no longer this separation that separates you from your dream life. It is already here now. You bridge the gap. And by doing so, then, life becomes so much more exciting because then now you've discovered the secret of the blueprint to helping improve your life, which is by surrendering. Stop trying to force outcomes and to live your life in the present moment. So to conclude, set your goal or decide on something you would like to have, work towards, realize, or create. It could be on any level: a job, a house, a relationship, a change in yourself, increased prosperity, a happier state of mind, improved health, beauty, a better physical condition, solving a problem in your family or community or whatever. The ultimate point of creative visualization is to make every moment of our lives a moment of wondrous creation in which we are just naturally choosing the best, the most beautiful, and the most fulfilling lives we can imagine. So, any moment of the day, you can use that time to create. It could be when you're first thing in the morning before you go to bed, maybe when you have some time away from work, when you're in the car, doesn't matter. That very moment could change your life instantly just by visualizing and entertaining new possibilities without force, but through in a relaxed state and through repetition. And by repeating these visuals, these assumptions about what it is that you want, while living the life that you've always imagined. And by doing this on a more consistent basis and not worrying about if you've gotten sidetracked or discouraged or frustrated, that's perfectly okay. That's part of the process. But by being more consistent with the times that we take to visualize what we want, it's just a matter of time before we begin to see new possibilities and experiences emerge. And when it comes to infinite possibilities, it's up to you to decide what is possible and entertain that. And by doing so, naturally over time, our life reveals itself to you to new horizons that you never even dreamed of. And once that happens, life will never be the same. So thank you so much for listening to this lecture. As I said before, make sure you hit that subscribe button or like button. You can watch all my lectures on personal growth, wealth building, and entrepreneurship and creativity. Thank you so much again. Now see you next class. Take care.